if additive is the only way I know this is going to be designed and produced, and in motorsports, you're always trying to find that nth degree of performance, and you're always on a budget. Let's be real, because motorsports is expensive, and even if it's a hobby, it's expensive. So how do I provide the best value to my customers? I have some interesting projects coming up that I think would be just cool to bench race,
100%.
So let's talk about motorsports. Everyone likes to go fast.
I like going fast.
This is America. We love our motorsports, and I do too. My Mazda Speed that is all-wheel drive swapped. It's caged. It's got air all over it. I'm pulling an engine as soon as I leave here next week. That's going to go back to the builder. It's going to get some touch-ups to it. Going to get a much larger turbo on it from Zona rotor, which I'm excited about. Then we're going to push the car to, we'll see, 4 digits.
How many pounds are you running?
That turbo will probably be pushing up into the 50s, maybe touch 60. We'll kind of work our way up to that point.
What part of this engine is still original to support that? The block, the
block
head,
is.
Really?
The block is. It's a closed deck block, actually, but it's got sleeves.
Yeah.
The crank.
Yeah.
It's got a forged. Well, the crank is forged from the factories. They're actually pretty robust. Nobody's broke a crank yet.
Do I need to buy one of these?
No, don't do that.
Well, just the tune. I had no idea the tunability of these engines.
But if you do,
I just would want like a 350 horsepower little guy.
Oh, okay. Around. So the most fun I ever had in the car is around 450 horsepower, kind of a bigger turbo, but very responsive, fun. Like that car.
I'd want to drive it every day, but also have it be fun.
Oh, so I daily drove my car at 650 horsepower from like through downtown. I was doing a 45-minute commute in it every single day with a 6-puck ceramic clutch. It didn't look like anything. It was
a sleeper?
Oh my gosh, it was a sleeper. Boy, did I hurt some feelings.
I bet.
I went to an event in Mexico. There was some guys running, and I lined up with a ZL1 Camaro. That's it, the supercharged one. Did a 40 roll, and I put a bus on him.
Wow.
And he came back up. What just happened? That thing doesn't look like and then none of his buddies behind him would play with me. It was fantastic. Guy was super cool. I ran into him at the track the next night.
You got to respect it.
Oh, the dude was.
You know what I mean?
He came. All I see is this dude like
that's
waving
cool.
at his buddies. Hey, that's that car race last night. You got to come check this out. Yeah, we had a great time.
We'll add links to whatever you want.
Okay,
videos,
right on.
That's sick.
Okay, motorsport application, additive. Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
We could do this. So
I'll follow you.
I have some projects that I'm planning to work on for a few different platforms. Obviously, Mazda's one of them. It's kind of my bread and butter right now. I have 2 Mazda Speeds right now. I have ideas where there's a product, an intake manifold. They already exist. They're out there. Mm-hmm. I want to approach it with a mindset that if additive is the only way I know this is going to be designed and produced, what would I do? What would I change in the design? What features would I add in, or flexibility of features would I add in, knowing that additive is the only way it's manufactured? Because when you do that, you release all these other constraints of, can it be machined? Can it be castable? What's the draft angle on the part to pull it? Can they access for post machine? All these different aspects you have to consider depending on the manufacturing process. But if there's only one and it's additive, then you get to break some rules. And so I have ideas of like, my car, my half-mile car does high RPM. So what's my power band from 7,000 to 9,500? That's where the car operates. So how do I optimize the intake manifold, the runners, the plenum design, all of that system to operate at peak efficiency in that range? But how do I take some of the base components and design, say the runners that bolt up to the head, and then make different types of like a different size plenum or different runner lengths, or making it a layman style dual plenum kind of intake manifold for a car that's, say, a circuit car, and it needs lots of partial throttle response, living in the 500-600 horsepower range. What would I do different? And so if I create a modular design that all the components work with each other, and I know that I'm only ever doing small batches, then additive is this perfect solution to create a modular, optimized design depending on the application it's being used for.
Brilliant. That's very clever. And that just seems like something that's prohibitive with any other manufacturing method.
I mean, if you're
besides time and money.
If time is infinite and you have all the money, then it doesn't matter. But that's not the world we live in. And in motorsports, you're always trying to find that nth degree of performance.
Yeah.
And you're always on a budget. Let's be real, because motorsports is expensive, and even if it's a hobby, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So how do I provide the best value to my customers?
That's very clever. The whole modular design, yeah, and it makes sense. It would work.
That's turning up here. That's kind of on the next in the summer. I mean, I'm building my shop. I'm building my additive space right now. I got a lot of things, irons in the fire right now, which is exciting. Okay, so I want to talk about next applications.
Okay, and I want to just real quick. The reason we want to talk about this in picture is because I want to let the people watching. I want to spark their imaginations.
Absolutely.
Like, I could be doing this.
Yeah. So motorsports in general, the application list is just massive. I have friends that they're doing additive just in little, a helmet hook, camera mounts, accessories inside the cab.
There's a lot of customers doing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great application, and it's a great entry point if you want to do a side hustle and you're a car guy and you've got a creative mind, you can solve a simple problem really easily, and then you grow and you grow and you grow from there. And those are the guys I want to support.
100%. They're just little my old Mercedes, plastic, UV damage, all cracked. They just crumble in your hand.
Yeah. Yep.
And I have 3D printed because someone has done the scan, or I've done the scan.
Yeah.
This part that, if it is available, it's in the wrong color from a used car located in the UK, and it's $72 for some reason.
Right, and
I just
$150 in shipping.
I just pump it out and paint it. It was fine.
It's great. As a car guy, pure car guy.
Yeah,
it's cool because it's saving old classic cars.
100%.
And when the OEs say we're done, you can say, well, I'm not.
And scanning.
Yeah.
You scan, right?
Oh, yeah. I have an Instar right now. I'm in the Shining family.
Okay.
The Radial is really compelling for me right now.
I'm buying one.
I'm
one of the few people who's used it.
I think we're going to have to thumb wrestle for that one.
I'll let you mess around with it. Yeah, you should use it. It's really good.
I'm excited. I got a really big project. Back to aerospace real quick. Got a really big project to reverse engineer the entire radial engine exhaust system. For those
twin cyclones?
Yeah.
Those twin cyclones.
They don't exist anymore.
No.
There's no replacement parts. There's no drawings. So
they're not twin cyclones. They're duplex. That doesn't matter.
They're duplex.
Duplex, yeah.
Dual bank.
Yeah.
There's 7 components to it, not counting the bridge pipe sections from forward bank to rear bank. There's 9 more of those, but they're all the same. So I only need to scan one of them. But the engine's off the plane right now. So that means the exhaust is off the engine because the engine's doing a service. So they want to jump on the opportunity that all of this is off. It's accessible. So it's just suddenly, literally last week, urgent. Can you do this project in the next week?
What do you do? Are you reverse engineering it so that they can be made again?
Yes.
Because good luck going on eBay and finding.
No, they don't. They do
40s
exist.
right
This
engine.
is great. The guy that approached me with the project is clever as hell. His idea right now for a short solution is if we can scan it, reverse engineer it, and as he says to me, do all your wizardry and tech stuff that you do, then we could print parts, paint them to look like factory parts, and then the museum that has one of these planes with the functional parts that won't sell me the functional parts because then the museum piece is incomplete, we put the prints on there, and then I can buy the functional exhaust off of the museum piece.
Especially,
so I have spares with me.
You could literally make it out of PLA and plate it. So you could not tell.
Yeah, PLA or an
Unless
ASA
you tried to run it
and paint it or any, right?
The electroplating is real cool, or SLS.
Yeah, the solution, these parts are huge, by the way. I mean, the ring is a 4-foot diameter.
Aren't those engines cool?
Oh, they're massive. I've been walking under them for the past 4 months. So they're awesome.
Those are the things that won World War II on the big bombers, the Cyclones. They're so big.
And they're powerful.
They're so thousands of horsepower.
Yeah,
I don't know about the Connie, but
I think each one of these are 2350. They're 2-stage supercharger or 2-speed supercharger. So low elevation, high elevation settings.
Raw power.
Yeah, raw power.
Simple engine, crude, incredibly powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, so cool.
And thirsty.
Oh my!
I got a picture. I wasn't at the shop at the time, but I got a picture. No, I was at the shop. Yeah. He brought me over. He's like, hey, you're a car guy. You'll like this. And I was like, okay. He points up at a 2-inch tubular, a bent tube going in towards the engine. He goes, that 2-inch there, that's the fuel feed line for one engine. Are you kidding me? A 2-inch feed line. to fuel the engine.
Now I
It
want
burns
to check
500 gallons an hour.
times 4.
I don't remember if he said that was all 4 or
That
1.
has to be 500.
I think that's
if
I
there's
think
a
that's all
2-inch
4 of
feed
them.
line still
Well,
with avgas, how much is that?
it's probably a passive feed, a bit gravity, a bit, forced system, so they need the size to flow.
Yeah.
Either way,
Still.
I mean, my car uses -10 feed lines, and those are big. So,
but those back then,
2-inch,
it was, well, fuel didn't cost anything,
No.
and it was,
the only thing fuel cost then was weight.
yeah, and those are simple. They're radial engines, so
They're thirsty.
they're simple.
And they're thirsty.
Throw fuel at it,
Yeah.
throw more fuel, more air, they keep going.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's how,
Okay.
cool.
We're going on a tangent here. Radial engines are cool because they are a shared crank,
Mhm.
and there's only one leader, and the rest are followers.
Mhm.
If a cylinder that is a follower got shot off, as long as you didn't lose too much oil, that engine would keep running.
Yeah.
Because each cylinder is an independent sleeve, cylinder, valve train, piston, and rod.
We should put up one of those little graphics because I don't think a lot of people know how radials work.
Almost nobody will understand what we're talking about.
And then doing multi-banks that are all rotated so that
so
you
they
can
spiral.
get airflow across them. And then there's always going to be airflow issues anyway.
Yeah, I guess on the
Heat
Spruce
issues.
Goose, because they're 4 banks, they actually, don't quote me on this, but I read somewhere that the piston to cylinder clearance, the piston to wall clearance, as the banks went, had to be different because of the heat. Because the rear banks would run so much hotter than the front banks.
God, I love that stuff. That's when we were America, man.
Yeah.
That's when we were making stuff.
Raw power, man.
Yeah. Dude, he was like, this is off topic. It wasn't supposed to fly. It was supposed to be a taxi test. He was so tired of being questioned that he was like, you watch this.
Yeah.
And he flew it.
No, sometimes you just got to do that.
You be a billionaire boss.
Sometimes you don't ask for permission, you ask for forgiveness.